Hi, I'm Freya. I'm 14 and a youth board member for a charity called Beyond, who are also the founders of Now and Beyond, a day dedicated to giving young people the mental health education they deserve. Now and Beyond is also co-produced by young people like me, but this year we wanted to amplify young voices even more. Today's session will celebrate that by bringing together young people from 5 organisations that benefited from the Born This Way Foundation and Cotton On Foundation's Kindness in Community Fund. Those organisations are Sister System, The Mix, Young Minds, Emotional Dysregulation Autism and Beyond. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Dylan and welcome to Born This Way. I am an ambassador for the youth mental health charity Beyond, and I'm thrilled to be hosting a conversation today all about living an authentic life for the online festival Now and Beyond. Joining me today are some of the young people from a variety of different organisations. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Freya, I'm 14 and I'm a youth board member for Beyond.
Hello, my name is Nika. I'm 18 years old. I'm here as a representative for Sister System, an organisation helping support care-affected girls.
Hello, I'm Hannah. I'm here with Emotion Dysregulation in Autism, which is the youth mental health charity for autistic young people, focusing on peer support and regulating emotions when it comes to being autistic.
Hey, I'm Alison. I'm 20 years old and I'm representing the Mix charity, which supports individuals aged 11 to 25 years old with their mental health.
Yo, I'm Genty. I'm 17 years old and I'm repping Young Minds, which is an organisation which enables young people to look after their mental health and supports the adults around them to support them.
To kick things off on our discussion about authenticity today, I was hoping to be able to play you one of my songs.
When you said you were wasted, drinking drunk on my life, trying to cocoon yourself in my body, falling into my eyes. You couldn't be without me. You never wanted a good night, let alone a goodbye.
Then you said we were changing, that it's not what you want. Not a single thing changed on my body, but I stopped turning on. And when you said we were happy, were you telling me lies? 'Cause you left with goodbye.
And now I can't seem to get you off my goddamn mind. And to be honest, I'm not alright. And now I can't seem to get you off my goddamn brain. And to be honest, it's driving me insane. 'Cause there you go again, and I can't seem to get you off my brain.
Personally, I think that song was just amazing.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So one of the main reasons that I wanted to be here today was to talk about authenticity with you guys. And obviously, as you can tell from that video, I'm a transgender man and a musician. And I haven't always spent a lot of my life living authentically. I felt like I was trapped in a body that I didn't understand. And when I began my transition, what I wanted to do was shut my old self in a box and ignore them and completely forget about them. But then in becoming more like myself, I realised that I still love that version of myself. I just prefer this version of myself now, and I'm a lot happier. So once I'd felt comfortable in myself, I started to duet with my old self, Lots Holloway, and start to create music where we're both singing and we're performing, because I want to show other people that it's okay to embrace every version of you and love every version of yourself. So I'm creating authentic music around that now, and I would love to hear a little bit more about your stories and why you're here today. So what I thought we could start by doing today to kick things off would be to share a word about how we felt when we were younger and give like a little description of how we were feeling. So maybe I'll kick it off with, when I was in school, I felt quite lost. I didn't really know who I was supposed to be. I didn't know always how to fit in, and I was creating a character for myself a lot of the time. So that's how I would describe myself. What about Alison? Have you got a word and then a description of that for us?
Yeah, I felt really constrained at school because nobody really knew what was going on in my life, and they just made judgments based off of what they saw, and that was not actually accurate to who I was, and so there was a misalignment there that I felt.
Thanks for sharing. Naika, can we move to you? Do you have a word for us?
I would definitely say isolated is a perfect example of how I felt. I didn't really have many friends because I started school a bit later than everyone, and it was really frustrating as a young person because the teachers weren't necessarily any of help, or I just didn't know anything, and I would just feel like you had to fit in with everyone.
Freya, have you got a word for us?
I feel quite alone at school because I feel like people are really involved in my life, but they also don't, like, they just want to spread negative things about me instead of really trying to like understand who I am.
Right.
And that makes me feel quite isolated and alone.
Yeah, that was not a very nice way to feel. Gente, you got a word for us today?
I feel like mine's a bit different. When I was in school, I felt, I guess, connected, but it's like I knew like 100 people in school, but they didn't really know me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that must have been hard as well. All the words kind of almost feel a little bit connected, don't they? Alone and isolated. And Hannah, have you got a word for us?
I would say invisible, and it's like in a twofold kind of way. I feel like I people would like look through me, it's almost as if I wasn't there, but also that feeling of like wanting to be more invisible and like shrinking and hiding myself to fit into what was expected, and like just not seen for who I was as myself.
Yeah. So I'm sure that some of the people watching today will have been feeling some of the similar feelings that we were all feeling then. Does anyone want to share a bit more of a deeper dive about how it felt for them in school, about how it was impacting you then, or about how it's impacting you even now?
I literally like was so shy and so like terrified of the world, and like I thought I had to change myself to become something that was more palatable, more like okay, like what other people kind of wanted. And I made myself really, really poorly over doing it, and kind of really confusing. And then I'm like late diagnosed neurodivergence. I'm autistic and ADHD. And it was interesting that even when I got my diagnosis, like people think, oh my goodness, like that's it. It's like the answer. And actually, I still felt really broken because I was like, oh, I still don't really feel like I fit into these boxes of like being autistic. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't relate to this. And then it was only kind of as I went on a journey of like finding out more about myself and realizing that just because you have a label or just because someone tells you something, you can then make that into whatever you are and whoever you are. It is a journey, not a destination. You never find yourself, you just kind of keep going. If the Hannah who was sat in school, like shrinking at the back of the classroom, like wanting no one to see her, I remember vividly, like when we had a blazer, and like I could literally feel like the eyeballs, like, even though probably no one was looking, like the eyeballs like piercing through my blazer, and like, she just wanted to be like completely gone. And now I literally sit and do these things that like in front of cameras and like to do public speaking, and like I wanted someone to kind of save me, but actually I found myself.
Does anyone else feel like they resonate with something that Hannah had said, like in the negative parts of sort of people looking at you or feeling insecure in that way?
I definitely did feel a lot of judgmental looks and a lot of isolation being at school. When it came to expression and even styling and clothing, I just wore my school uniform. I didn't care where I went. And then I went to the system and I started expressing myself. And, you know, it's just lovely when you walk into a room and a whole bunch of women are like, yes, you look so beautiful. You know, I just love it. And, you know, especially with Sister System, they didn't just support me with that. They supported me academically. I'm a teenager. I'm sitting down, I'm doing essays. I don't want to do it. I have to revise, I have to study. I don't like writing essays. And when I was working, because Sister System offers qualifications, when I was working with them, you had to write an essay every week. And every week I'm writing an essay, and I didn't even realize that in a sort of way it was helping me get better with my GCSEs and, you know, be able to flourish and thrive. And it's like, Sister System has impacted me and made me feel way more flamboyant and way more confident in myself, which is why I'm even here today, because I want to show people that there is a way out, there is a lifeline.
No, that's beautiful. It's almost like when you were being your more authentic self, you were able to do the mundane tasks that before were quite challenging for you, like writing an essay or whatever. When you felt like more like you could do those challenging things because you weren't also trying to be another character or trying to be someone for someone else. So what do you think was the biggest problem that you faced when you were in school?
I would definitely say the teachers were supportive and, you know, tried to help to their best extent, but I acknowledge that within the education system being around for so many years, there's only so much that they can do, which I can understand is really hard, because to be a teacher, you're not knowing everything. You have to keep learning, you have to keep trying, and it can be so draining on them, especially when we're overworking them and underpaying them. And I think my biggest flaw with education and being let down was I wasn't really signposted or told where to go to.
There were a lot of misunderstandings that I had with teachers, and they weren't there to kind of hear me out, and that then limited myself in the future because I didn't really feel safe like asking for help, thinking that I was going to be dismissed. But later on I did get counselling, and I definitely experienced both positive and negative sides of teachers knowing about your life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So Freya, you're still in school. Is there something that you find is the most difficult thing for you to deal with?
There are little adjustments that I like to make, like using a different coloured pen, like a pink one or a purple one.
Right.
And it just makes my work, like if I'm revising, I'm more likely to look at it because it's not just a block piece of text in one colour with one colour on the page. And teachers don't understand that. If you want me to pass the test I'm going to do, this is my best way to do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you're actually doing something that's benefiting your learning, that's just making it easier for you, but it's seen as something that's disobedient. Gente, is there something that was most difficult for you during school, or something that you remember that's similar to these conversations?
I think similar, I guess, like, it's attention from teachers. See me, when I was in school, I was very quiet. It's like, even now, like, I don't really have to talk too much. I just get on and do what I have to do. See me, 'cause obviously I'm doing my work, but the teachers, they just see that I'm getting on with it. Obviously, you've got other people in the class, even though I might need help, they're not coming up to me because I'm not making noise, I'm not getting distracted. I'm just trying to stay focused and doing what I have to do. And it's deep because, like, obviously teachers are trying their best, but they don't look at the people who aren't crying out for help. They just see the ones who are making like a big outburst and like, yo, let me go chat to that. But I'm sitting here, I'm just trying to do the best that I can. Sometimes I need support, but I might not ask for it. But I feel like, obviously the teacher's trying their best, but it's dark because, like, you're not getting the help that you need, even if you're not unspoken.
So tying this back into authenticity, I think what we're all finding is that it was hard to be authentic in school, either because you're trying to learn in your best way and teachers are stopping that from happening, or that you being authentic and kind of the quieter guy means you're not getting the attention you need because there are louder kids doing that, so that in some way it's being stifled. What did you guys experience with friends?
Starting school late made it especially hard because everyone's having their old friend groups already. And, you know, just the integration into socialization was really hard, especially because, you know, you're struggling with your homework, you're struggling with the teachers, and you're struggling to kind of find your group. And I feel like a lot of people are still trying to find themselves, and sometimes you have to latch on to one friend group, but what you don't realize is this friend group isn't really authentic to yourself. So you present as somebody else, somebody that they'll like, but even then you go home and you realize, I have so many friends, but I don't have any friends.
Yeah, because no one knows the real you. They know a different version of you that you're presenting for them. I see a lot of head nodding in the corner there, so I feel like you resonate with what's being said.
Yes, I think in high school I stuck around with a group of friends because I wanted to look like I had friends. But I also came away from those groups or spending time with them feeling really drained and so much more worse about myself, because putting that mask on, I wasn't being who I really was. It impacted me even worse. It did make me feel sick, and that's what led me to like a lot of issues with my mental health. So it really did impact me in a very negative way.
And you had a similar thought about being yourself in the wrong spaces, or being the wrong self in the right spaces?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is that because we're all maturing and slowly finding ourselves, I feel like a lot of people kind of get introduced when they're young to really toxic mindsets, and then as they get older they realize it's not as good. So then by the time they're, you know, year 11, they're graduating, they kind of realize to themselves, okay, this is who I am. And that's when I found my people. But by then it's the end, everyone's leaving. And I just feel like, you know, what is meant for you is coming. You just need to wait for it.
The hardest thing sometimes, isn't it, is breaking out of, you going to school every day and you're trying to be someone else so that you can stick around with that friendship group or make new friends. But then you come home and you are tired because you've been someone else all day long, and then you realise you're making friends that think you're someone that you're not. And the ironic thing is, if you go in and you're being more authentically yourself, you might have made the right kind of friends for you, but it's just hard to overcome that.
I had no friends basically at all at any point. And I think it's really interesting when we were talking a bit before about teachers and stuff, and I think maybe because I dropped out of school when I was 16, so I've not been in the education system like on that side for like 8 years. I describe it as a sausage factory, creating perfectly uniform sausages, and any deviation from that is unwanted and discarded. And I think that's like, for me, how much I viewed school was like, it was just such a sausage factory of like getting everybody to the end point. And I think, to be fair, whether I didn't really have any friends, I've no idea how the interactions with teachers went. I can't actually really remember any of it. And I think especially with someone who had a very tricky home life as well, you were masking in school, you were masking at home, you had no, and I think it does give you such a warped sense of identity and warped sense of reality and like view of the world. When you're in school, school's your whole life and you're there 5 days a week, it's all consuming. And actually, you know, it's not necessarily going to be the best years of your life. It wasn't mine by any stretch, but it's been now, like in my finding the spaces, and like there are spaces out there where you can do things, and like the rigid nature of school and like what school is saying isn't actually all there is in life.
So as we've mentioned, Freya, you're actually still in school, but maybe one of the older kids can offer some advice.
I think in terms of friendship, you should always look for the people that will support you, and you can walk away feeling like energized and someone that you're proud of, rather than leaving really drained and with the energy vampires around, you don't want to be around them. And that won't only improve like how you feel, but how you see yourself in the world and how you present yourself. It will help you in so many more ways that don't just stay within the school, just in life in general.
Like, I used to be in a friend group with like 12 people, and it was just so draining. Every time I chat to them, I wasn't being my authentic self. I was being like a version of them that fit in with the group. But now I cut it down. I'm with a group. There's like 3 other people. It's the 4 of us, and like I'm able to be me like 100% of the time, because we're just better for me, better for my energy, and they help me be who I actually am, if that makes sense.
You might not have a best friend in school. They might not be the people you meet in school, might not be the people, you know, you want to spend the rest of your life with, and that's okay, because actually, you know, you can have different people in different spaces for different things that give you different energies, but also not to put that pressure on ourselves to like have this, like, I've got to have the friendship, the social life, that all of those things put in, and if it's not there yet, like, it will come. I don't really speak to anybody from school, and actually the closest people that I have, I've met more recently, because as an adult and as someone who now chooses what I want to do, I am surrounding myself in spaces with people who align with who I am. Whereas in school, you are just forced together because it's a postcode, just with people who are in your area.
I actually really like this part of the conversation, because this always leads on to where we are now. So what advice would you give to your younger self if you could say it now? Maybe we could start with you, Naika.
Quantity of friends is not as good as quality. You know, especially don't be afraid to be alone. Being alone is such a beautiful thing. I think during a lockdown, I learned how to skateboard and I learned how to roller skate. And, you know, eventually, one thing that I started to do is I started to learn how to play the guitar again. But I kind of realized that it's a good time to just develop and figure out yourself by picking up more hobbies.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. I think that's also the advice that I would give to my younger self. It would be more about experimenting with different things, knowing that you can always make a new decision later. So like, the more things you try, the more you learn what you like and what you don't. And the more things you learn what you like and what you don't, the more authentic you'll become in the process of that. Alison, have you got something that you would say to your younger self?
In that time, there was a lot going on in my life. Stuff at home, so a really dysfunctional household, and coming to school and having to deal with that was very difficult. But looking back on it now, I've like kind of cut off those ties and don't have that fear anymore of being afraid of who I am. I finally found like this one really good friend, and she's like the solution to all my problems. And I'm just so grateful that I didn't give up back then, because there were moments where I nearly ended it all and there wasn't any hope. There wasn't a light for me to look up to. But I'm so happy that I pushed through and persevered. I'm getting emotional talking about it.
That's okay. I hope you're okay.
That too, appreciate how far you've also come, because you will be able to look back and say, yeah, I got through that, and how I'm such an amazing person, and you are amazing people. You are very important people.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's not easy to share that kind of thing. But saying to your younger self, just keep going, because it does get better. And I think we can all we can all sort of nod and say, yeah, that our lives have changed in different ways, but it's always got better.
When I was younger, I used to listen a lot to what other people would have to say and what other people would have to say about me. And I changed myself to kind of like match what they say. And it's like, obviously that's not my authentic self, is it? I feel like as I've gotten older and like, as I'm still working on it now, as we got to this point, I feel like the less I listen to other people's opinions on me, like, it's the more authentic. And I guess like the more free that I actually feel like I'm able to be. Like, at this stage in my life, I just feel, how do I put it? Not like I'm floating, but like, I just feel light. I feel like there's a lot of weight just off my chest, because when I was younger, there was a lot of pressure. But like, I feel like just by blocking it all out, I've been able to become like my more authentic self. So my advice to my younger self would be, just don't listen to what other people have to say and do my own thing.
I think that's a really important point, isn't it? Because that's something I experienced when I was growing up too, that when you're trying to be someone else for other people, your life actually becomes more difficult, because you're constantly thinking who I need to show up as today, who do they expect me to be when I walk into this room? And then when you decide that actually I'm just going to go in there and be exactly who I want to be, life actually becomes easier for you. Even in maybe in that moment you lose friends or it's more difficult on that day, in the long run you become more liberated and free, like you say, in the mind, just to sort of crack on and just have a great day and be you.
I think to my younger self when I was like 6, 7 years old, because that was when my parents split up, so probably like just don't let that, like, because it used to stop me from, like, if someone was doing something with their parents together all as a family unit, it used to make me feel a bit out of the conversation. So I think I'd probably just say don't let that stop you from being involved in your friends' conversations about what they're doing on the weekend with their family or something.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I guess it's finding a way that you can fit into those conversations, because just because someone's life is different than yours doesn't mean that yours is any less valuable. It's like, it's still something that you can say and be part of.
There's just so much of life that you don't even expect. Like, I'm sat here as someone who was absolutely adamant that I needed to get straight A stars at GCSE and go to A levels, then go to a red brick university and study medicine. And I am sat here as someone who is 24 years old. I don't have a degree. I spent 5 years in hospital. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have that many friends, but I am the happiest I've ever been. And I'm a freelancer. If someone ever told me I was going to be a creative freelancer, like, I didn't even do GCSE art or GCSE drama, and yet I am a creative person. And I think that power of creativity is massive in kind of letting you let go of that right or wrong mindset and just like exploring and like using it as your voice and a way of communicating and like finding who you are. And there's so many things out there, and it's going to go wrong, it's going to go right, it's going to be all of the things in between, but ultimately nothing is permanent. And obviously that's scary in terms of like when the things are good, but also it means that when things are not so good, they're also not permanent.
That's so great. I really like that advice. And also it's so great to hear you're doing so well.
Thank you.
Well done, you.
Woo.
So at the beginning of this conversation, I asked everyone if there was a word that described how they felt when they were in school, but I would love to know if there's a word that more describes how you feel now.
I would definitely say flamboyant. You know, life's like an ocean. You know, sometimes you go under, sometimes you go above, but you keep going.
Nice, I love it. Freya?
I feel quite grateful because I think I'm a lot more comfortable, and I also think that I can help understand if my friends are going through like similar situations I did, like when my friends' parents are getting divorced. And I feel like me helping them helps myself be more authentic, and it helps me be more open, and I think that's good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Alison?
Empowered. I've proven to myself so many times that I can get through really bad situations, and I know I can do that 10 times more. And I find comfortability knowing that I can help other people too.
That's gorgeous. Gente, have you got a word for us?
Mine's still connected, but this time it's like connected in a different way. So it's less like I'm connected to people and more like people connected to me. So it's like talking about the thing from before, like quality over quantity. Yeah.
That's so nice. Hannah, have you got a word for us?
No, but I'm going to do a little line. Different, that's me. To fit into your world, I must disagree. I am here to make my own acknowledgement. To be myself really is the biggest accomplishment. So speak up, even if your voice shakes, regardless of the consequences or stakes. I won't wait to be told if or when. I will never apologise for being truly myself ever again.
I love it. Well, that's about all we've got time for today. Hopefully we've shown you out there that becoming authentic is more about the journey than it is the destination. I want to thank everyone that's joined me today on the sofa. Thank you for being so vulnerable and open and sharing all your experiences.
There you go again, and I can't seem to get you off my brain.